So we ended up bringing in our beer in from Wisconsin. It was a little bit tough. We would go to our beer, tasting events, have our beer on tap, and we would go with the Fargo Beer Company, which is definitely not, the best way to go around. Kind of a lot of confusion about, where are you located in Fargo? And it's tricky to say, well, we're located in a van, and then we drive around all over town delivering beer. So it was a little bit challenging to get going, get people behind it. So everything since then is brewed all in Fargo. It's been great to actually be able to say Fargo in the name, and when people ask where it's made, we can damn well say Fargo, North Dakota. Aaron and I went to high school together, and my first summer back in 2009, we were at a Red Hawks game, and we discussed, what am I going to do? I just moved to Fargo, hadn't had a job yet, so playing around, and I just told him, I'm thinking about starting a brewery here in Fargo. Immediately he's like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, that sounds great, we'll do it. And then it took about another hour to convince him that I was serious about this. And then we spent the rest of the night just kind of talking about it and figured it out. We still couldn't brew beer at all. I kind of picked up home brewing a little bit just to see if I could do it, and quickly found out it's not for me. So we, after dumping about 4 batches, I fortunate enough to run into John Anderson at the Hodo. He was a classmate of my brother-in-law, and as they were catching up, John had mentioned that he and his brother were going to start a brewery.
All right, so this is the first step in the process for making beer here at the Fargo Brewing Company. Our raw ingredients, the malted barley comes in these super sacks or in 50-pound bags.
So Chris moved in to Fargo. We started brewing beer in Fargo in my garage on our little keg system, converted keg system that we had made. And that's where we kind of started to get the buzz going, where we would take the beer to tastings at Atomic Coffee, get people to come in and try essentially just homebrew, but try what we were thinking of doing as a company, and that really helped gain a lot of support. One of the first things we did, John and I went to the Liquor Control Board in Fargo and talked with them and kind of gave them the idea of what we were planning on doing and why some of the existing city licenses wouldn't work for our business. Basically, we got told we cannot rewrite a license just to make your business plan work. We're one of the founding members. It's Laughing Sun in Bismarck, Buffalo Commons and Souris River, and us as the founding members of North Dakota's Brewers Guild. Basically found a really great license that works, lets us have a tap room on site and just distribute our beer ourselves. Then when it was time to talk with the city, it was pretty much, let's copy and paste the state license.
Take that grain, we run it through our 2-roller mill. So before we run a batch, we run everything through the mill. It's brought over to the brew house through this, which is a grain auger. Each recipe is a specific blend of base malts and character malts. We weigh those out exactly every time, and that's what goes into it. That's how we get consistency. That's how we make the same beer over and over and over again.
When we wanted to start building a brewery of this size. Realizing it was going to take, over $1 million to get something like this going. And we had 3 27-year-olds and a 24-year-old. So a little bit challenging to go to a bank and get that kind of money together. So we started asking around, worked with Fulton Beer out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, talked to them a little bit, and they had connected us up with Sand Creek Brewing Company out of Black River Falls, Wisconsin. So we're still, a year away from selling kegs. So we spent the next 12 months working with Sand Creek to get a fermentation vessel sent over from China to be installed at their in their brewery. And that was going to be our tank, and that would be the beer that our beer would be going in. That would be the tank our beer would go into. So once we got that set up, it came in like around this June timeline, I believe. It was installed and ready to go in September. So in September, we sold our first keg to J.O. Beers and Hodo. That September 28th is when we had our launch party.
This is what's called the mash water tun. What we'll do is we bring that crushed barley malt from that grist case in the back. We mix it with hot water. We start collecting in the middle vessel, which is the kettle. Once that kettle is full, we boil it for 60 minutes. While we boil, this is when we add hops. So once we've cooled that down, you can see this hose on the ground here. So we transfer that chilled wort over to the fermenter. Once it's in that fermenter, then the yeast do their job, which is really where we make beer.
So 2012 was our first full year of operations. We did about 1,000 barrels of beer. There's about 31 gallons in a barrel. Last year we did 1,500 barrels. This year we're looking at about 4,500 is what we're shooting for.
One side is beer, the other side is that cooling liquid that surrounds the tank and the cone on the tank. We don't filter any of our beers here. So once that beer gets clarified, we'll then send it down to the bright tanks. That bright tank is where we finish up clarification and we carbonate the beer. Once the beer is clarified and carbonated, then it can go on to packaging. From start to finish, how we make beer around here.
So if you think about the timeline on it, it was several years before we really even got things going. So after September 2011, we had wood chipper out on the market. In December, we came out with Stone's Throw. We had a summer beer come out the following summer. And during the summer, that's when plans for this place started to really take shape. So we raised another round of equity in late 2012 and actually placed our order for the equipment in December 2012. Moved into this building in February of 2013, ripped it apart, got everything out, got it ready for put our tanks in, and those arrived in May, and we were brewing in here in July.
Our canning process starts with depalletizing the cans. Our cans come in on pallets of about 8,169 per pallet. You can see that they get swept off and up at the top, inverted here and rinsed out just to make sure that no dust particles or anything like that are left in them. It's reinverted and then put into the filler where it actually gets filled with beer. So you'll notice as it goes into each one of the bells, it actually purges out with CO2. Counter pressure fills against that, fills beer up from that bottom. When the cans come out, they're filled, hit with a small jet of water to actually force any oxygen bubbles up and out of the top of the can. A lid is placed on it and it's seamed together. Chuck actually comes down and takes the cap and the can and folds it together, where it's rinsed off and then put through dryers and then hand six-packed on the back end of the line. So then it's put on 6-packs into 24-packs and put on pallets and shipped out the door.
When I lived in Portland, Oregon, I lived next door to Bridgeport Brewery. Living next there, kind of going in every couple days, really got a sense of what the brewery can do for a community. We'll have the 20-somethings that come in, and then you'll have the 55, 60-year-old professional or whatever that is trying to do. You'll get Republicans, Democrats. It's a great way for everyone to just kind of come together. One of those big things that we really enjoyed about Fargo and changed the most since I've been living in Portland for 4 years, coming back and seeing this just young entrepreneurship take off. You're starting to see more businesses just being started by people less than, under 30 years old and having great ideas, new businesses, and just bringing new ideas to the community, which is why I love Fargo. To get the craft beer moving in Fargo, we are going to take more breweries to do it. So the more breweries come, the better. So we welcome all breweries that are looking to start. Come talk to us, work with the North Dakota Brewers Guild. We could really use more help on the brewing. We already know there's another brewery in Fargo opening up this fall. Hearing rumblings in Grand Forks and Minot and Bismarck as well. So it's starting to get things going again, which for a state that drinks as much beer as we do, it's nice to actually have most of it made here, or at least get more of it made here. Plans for next year to go much bigger. So we are going to look to expand, adding Minneapolis and the rest of Minnesota in the market later this year. So hoping to grow, but we'll see how far we can go.